And not necessarily something that's gonna come easy again.
Yes.
Something that you're gonna have to say, okay, today I'm intentionally gonna give specific, you know, those are our little mini goal, not mini lessons. There are many goals in improving our practice that we have to identify and then really try. I would say I let that go sometimes in my need to get through and get things done.
And had not focused on the EEE part, every writing he made was
Would
going
have
to have
had
the
EEE,
EEE
yes.
rather than the actual intent.
I did that. I made a mistake with a kid that she was repeating things, which is kind of a neat strategy, but somehow it was when she would say so she'd say the word so like 5 times in her writing, and I must have complimented, I don't know how I did it, but everything that she wrote, I love my dog so much. And I told her, I gave her a limit though, that, you know, writers only say things 3 times. Whatever I told her, that's what she did, and that's what she added. It, you know, and it wasn't using those really interesting words, even though we did mini lessons on them, and I conferenced with her about it. It always, she had to use the word so 3 times, because I must have complimented her on it once.
It's funny what they pick out of conference.
Yes, it is. So think about how specific you need to be with your words, and how intentional you need to be, because, right, what they pick up on. So if you're, I don't know, I find myself sometimes when I said my conferences, I feel like they get too long. I'm sure I'm just, I don't know. I need to videotape it sometime, I guess, but I'm probably saying too much. And then I'm sure that they get confused. So who knows what they pick up on that when I'm just talking.
But you know, maybe you're giving them that time to talk, but
Yes.
they're craving from you so much, and that sometimes can drag out for a
Yes.
while.
Yep.
Maybe you talked about this, but how long are you conferencing with each child? Or haven't you talked about that?
It's
a few
a
years
little
ago?
bit
We talked
brief,
about it,
but it's pretty brief. And you know, we didn't talk about the idea that you want to get in there, find out what they're doing, validate, give them something, a goal, and then you need to let them know, I'll be back to see how you're doing. And that might be that day, it might be the next day. I suppose it would depend on if it's piece specific. In the early grades, a lot of times it's just a skill, like, are you adding detail? Your goal is to add detail more often, or your goal is to use your spaces, whatever. So you can really check back in a day or two and let's look through your pieces, look at here you're doing it. So really they could be very brief if you were, and they should be. They should. I don't know if I read it in here or I heard Linda or Kelly say it, but someone said it should never be more than 5 minutes. You should never have a mini lesson that's any longer than that. Or conference, yes, I'm sorry. It should never be longer than that. And that brings up a good point, because before we found this video with these conferences on here, I was just YouTubing, you know, writer's workshop, conference, 1st grade, 2nd grade, kindergarten, and I would find a couple that were just a couple minutes long, but they were all like 10, 15 minutes long, and I thought, oh, I'm not going to show those to you, but you know, they shouldn't be that long. You shouldn't be sitting talking with a kid for that long, because it gets to be a little bit too long. It's not reasonable. Their attention span is.
And then the next time you look at what they did, and then you look at what you asked them to be putting in.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I know, which is a mess probably to the rest of the
So you
world, but
look
in my
at
brain
what
it
you
worked.
asked them to do, and then you comment on
Yeah.
that.
And if we were doing something, I marked that, made some note, I'll come over so you can see that.
With older kids, do you ever
So
like
that-
write down like also the visual for
They
them?
could have them.
Yeah.
And I even had a point in time where I had sticky notes
And they're writing.
in their folder. They had it in their folder. And Tara Hoffman had been in my room to do some observing. And she said, do you know how much I love that you had those in the folder? She said, because then when I moved through your room, I knew what those kids were doing. So that would be a tool for any adult or other person that was in your room. That goal would always be visible, and it would cue not only your children, but also They're just
You know what, I
a
brought
rough
up that
mess.
guest teacher idea, then it's very obvious and we just roll. and-
Yeah, if their goals were posted, and like I said, if they responded all like Lily did, they will be so thrilled to have a goal. They will think you gave them a goal. Very old goal.
So the fourth column in your thing is when you hit it again, take a look to see if they did it.
I didn't use the fourth column for read out, I just kept putting notes across the page.
So,
Yeah, does that make sense?
yeah, it does.
It just
But,
it has to be,
Works for you, but yeah, so you.
so
and
I
then
could
you-
see.
If they didn't get that, then you kind of readdress it and say, well, you're getting there, let's keep plugging.
That's
it in.
right.
You give them the same goal.
We're
again,
still
and
working on this.
You only give one goal at a time.
Yep, and I would say, like, I can think of one little girl that comes to mind, that Chris will have next year. I think her goal was the same. I don't remember it really ever changing. Yeah, the majority of the school year, she stayed in the same spot. Yeah. I mean, there's circumstances that have implications on a child's school.
If it's something like spacing, shouldn't you just kind of go, oh my gosh, and start making like lines for them or something and get off the spacing thing, or do you keep, just referring to it and give them a different goal so they're not working on something else?
Or getting bored of it, or? Well, at some point, I suppose you know your student well enough to say, if I'm giving this to you and I'm revisiting, are you really not here yet? Are you really not here yet? Are we focusing on the wrong place to take you? I guess it's like in that little girl's case, she missed so much school that that's really her pain. I mean, it was writing the sound she hears, critical to getting her thoughts down. Because she was just writing the first letter of every word, and she would, and that remained her goal. And I would send her out every day with the same message. Remember, today you're going to write all the sounds you hear in a word. In other words, I would model, well, like, there's 3 sounds in that word. You know, that sort of thing. If it was spaces, that's
Well, I know, and I know it's important, but my little OT guy, he got so it was spaces, but you still struggled to, you know, I mean, he was, and then it
So
would slip
it is-
back and
okay,
go back
so
together, and
when
then
you
it'd come
say
back, and then it'd go.
my little OT guy, does that imply that spatial issue is going to be a struggle for him forever and ever?
Right, so.
And that's really not where we're going to improve him as a writer per se. And really to improve him as a writer, we need to look at
His writing.
his
is good.
detail or
But you
his
just couldn't find
creative
it in there.
word. Then take him there. Don't, I think if you focus on something that you know,
Well, that's the thing, I didn't really, because I didn't feel it was his fault.
exactly,
know,
no, there's
I-
something
so-
to, I totally
but
agree with that.
I could have really gotten stuck
can't-
on that.
Yeah, and don't, because your goal is to take them someplace as a writer and conveying those thoughts and messages. And spaces become important when you want to be able to read back your piece or someone else, not for the space sake, but for a reader to read your writing. That's the importance of a space.
But Donna, I'm hearing you say that he could write, he had great ideas that he was putting down, but the element that was missing was the spacing piece. Did he have a special tool or something that he could use to help him with the spacing? I mean, I know some people.
I know what you're saying, and yes, he had it in his notes, and every once in a while he'd chew on it.
Yeah.
But no, and it came and went. I mean, if I went by and says, remember spaces, it would space out, and then it would come back together. And he was an excellent reader and excellent writer of stories, but it was so hard that he would, you know, but when it was his job, yeah.
Maybe as the writing evolves too, you know, where you start doing it in more content areas, I mean, you're just always commenting on that, kind of reading that in.
And what about your kids with either really poor penmanship,
My son.
or the kids that have the ideas but can't put it down? So do you
Okay,
help?
so now I better,
Oh,
okay.
sorry, are you?
No, that's exactly another mini lesson. That's the poor handwriting. Probably one of my brightest little guys last year, he wrote like a little adult, it's kind of scrawly and kind of one, it was just a mess all the time. And there again, I think you have to evaluate. When we go to publish, that's going to matter. In the whole grand scheme of life, can he convey his message? Does he have great ideas? Can he put them together? Yes, yes, and yes. And he will, at some point, have
See, that's what I was gonna
this.
say, when you bring in a computer and let them do their writing on,
It's funny because I sat in a conference, okay, Jake, middle school, and sat in a conference last year, and his English teacher said, I can't read his writing. And you're saying, I'm like, why don't you have him type it? Because I'm thinking, why are we not offering up? But I don't think the resources are always there. Must be. Anyway, we started to try to address his handwriting in kindergarten. We noticed that his handwriting stunk. It never evolved. It never improved. Jake has cruddy handwriting. And I guess at whatever point I thought, if that's the issue in all of life, well,
yeah.
if that's the issue in all of life, then I don't really care. Obviously, does it hinder him with his teachers? They found a way to work it out. They came to a compromise and they moved forward with that. So, handwriting. I don't get wigged out about it. I think there's a time and a place for it. And
So, but would you ever let them go do some of their, on the computer instead of doing it by hand?
I
Like during
think-
their writing?
I think anytime you can offer a child a tool, I
So
don't know
just-
why you wouldn't. It's a resource issue more than anything.
Been a couple times when I've had kids that have realized that they don't know the keys, you know,
Yes.
and that it's hard.
Yes.
And then their penmanship will improve.
Oh, well, see,
So it has worked sometime, you know, where it's kind of an oppositional thing where they say, oh, God, if I have to do it.
kind of hard.
Yeah.
I'll just improve. And maybe that's the time when you come along, because you're talking about older children, probably. No? No?
No, I'm giving them a computer like in third and fourth.
Oh, yeah, well, yeah, to
or
me, that's,
for-
that's,
oh.
I'm gonna say, not kindergarten.
And you know, when I get them young, we start some keyboarding with them right away, because it just seems like
It's,
my kids.
it's reasonable.
Yeah.
yes.
And you know, I think this is gonna start to look a little bit differently because in middle school, that's where the emphasis was in keyboarding. Well, now they're pushing that
Yeah.
all the way down to third and fourth. And so I think, you know, these conversations, I think that this is gonna look differently as we try to meet these kids' needs at earlier ages.
I agree.
That's a good point.
So
Things are
it'll be
evolving.
interesting to see.
And I think it'll continue to go downtown.
I do
You know,
too, because I
I-
remember my girlfriend teaching kindergarten, she's been teaching kindergarten forever in Minnesota, and this was years ago. And she talked about how they were doing PowerPoints and stuff like that in K. And I thought, I'm not even getting in this teacher's lap. I thought, what are we doing here? But you're right, they can do it. Like when we did our Blogster project, and one of the resources they were going to do was search for some pictures to enhance their project. I just turned the computer on and got out of the way. They surfed, I mean, I gave them a couple little tidbits, and I just got out of the way. So,
This year
keyboarding would be,
for our, we do a research project together, like on one animal with the ramp chart at the beginning of the year. And at the end of the year, they choose their own. And I brought in the netbooks this year, and I found a great site, so I navigated them, helped them to get to the site. And like all the information they did awesome.
Yes.
They put together, of course, I had kind of like a template for them to look for those key details, but they did awesome.
this is a very natural place for them to be.
And I think,
We think right now that our technology doesn't support it, but I think that the pressure will be there and it's going to it's going to happen anyway because my daughter did the pilot test for the Smarter Balance company, and she was very frustrated when it got to the point of typing, and she's a computer illiterate little girl. And she's like, I I'm not gonna tell my whole story here. I'm like, what? Yes, you are. I was like, no, I'm not, you know, and it came down to, she wasn't gonna do it. So I think that the force will be there, the technology and everything's gonna be there because of the demand.
Even I've talked to some people in tech and they've said the same thing. They're like, it has to. We can't keep holding off. It's gonna come.
You know, go younger and younger and younger. People are, you know, our little ones have been doing keyboarding before we know it.
But that is something, isn't it, that idea that I'm not going to write any story because it's too tough? And the same thing is happening when we ask them to write. It's the same thing. That's a very slippery slope that we need to be aware of, because how sad that I wouldn't get a child's full story because of the task of putting it down.
And then I wonder too if we'll get to the point where we'll have those like dictators for those maybe physical needs, you know, when we get to the point where we'll let them just dictate it, or I can't think of the company we're talking to.
I was gonna say, my son uses the Dragon.
Yeah, the
where he
Dragon.
just talks
Yes.
into it and then the text comes up, it just types it for him, but that's not only special ed anymore. I mean, his great classroom at Roosevelt, they were all on Dragon, you know. So I think it's common, and I think when our 3-year-olds know how to run the iPad better than we do.
Yeah.
And I know it's coming. But
A 1.5-year-old's favorite toy. Are you earning us some big bucks there, Mr. Archula?
What's that?
So you're gonna earn us some big bucks there.
Yeah, we're
No
trying to get them-
pressure.
We're trying to get them in the crushing grip of reason even as we speak.
You stay
Yeah.
on that, would you?
Oh, yeah, we're on it.
You go. We could do a cheer for you.
Would you
want us to do a cheer?
After we caucus, I'll knock on the wall and you guys just start screaming.
Listen for that knock.
I've been thinking about the time frame, like when we were talking about conference, you have a goal, we check back with you. So you met with Johnny today, you had that conversation. When are you back with Johnny? Like, what's the time frame that you're back with him, checking back?
I think it depends on what you're, depends on what you're checking back on.
Okay.
Because if it is, we're gonna see how this piece turns out, you might say to him, how much time are you gonna need? When would you like to see me back? You can have them decide, right, do you need a day? Do you need 2 days until you check in with me? Or, there are some kids that you check back at the end.
And that's literally a check-in, it's not at a conference, it's like a
Right.
check.
Yeah. You're gonna finish your writing, you're gonna get those thoughts down. I'll be back to see you
Okay.
when I'm done with my other conferences before we do our closure or our share. Yeah. All right. Okay, I'm gonna show another video to you, and this is one, this little girl, she had made the story for 2nd grade maybe, and Lucy is conferencing with her and really trying to get her to that point of, you'll hear it, what is the point of your story is what she's really trying to get at this girl. And you'll see as she's reading that she has a really great story. I listened to it and I thought, that's phenomenal. And then as she's going, how Lucy takes that, it is a great story, but she's really trying to drive her to a single point.
So what are you planning to do with this piece now?
I think I'm done with this.
Uh-huh. You done with it?
Yeah.
Yeah. And it looks like you just started it like a day or so ago? Yeah. So this is going to be one of those fast pieces? You're not going to revise it?
Maybe I could revise it a little.
You have to decide if you like it, right? If you like it, you revise it, right? If it's not so good, you go to a different one. Okay? Why don't you read it over and decide if you like it or not?
When I went to Romy's house for a sleepover, she opened the door and she gave me a big hug. She said, hello, Lisa. She said, hello, Lisa. I said, hello, Romy. Her little brother said, hello. She took my hand. She brought me to her room. I thought about my family. I was a little sad.
Is that the end? What are you thinking? You like it?
That I could revise it.
Getting some ideas? Yeah. What ideas do you have for how you could revise it?
I don't have to write. She took my hand. She brought me to her room. I could say that she took my hand. I don't know.
What is it you don't like about that?
Well, I just,
What did she do? Can you remember? That's what I do a lot when I'm writing. I just try to remember and I have to come up with the words that are the true words, right?
she took me to her room, I think. I don't want to do, she
Not, she
brought me.
brought me to her room, but she took me to her room. Okay?
And I can make it a little longer because
I'm gonna pause it really quick. Did you see how the little girl wanted to change something, but then she was like, I don't know, and she was just gonna keep going, and it would have been so easy to say, ooh, I don't really know what I want her to say either, so I'll let her just keep going. But she really was like, no, what don't you like? What do you want to change? Because as a writer, if there's anything you don't feel comfortable with, you want to change it. I just love what she's doing.
this is a short story, so I don't have to write, I was a little sad. No, I thought about my family. I was a little sad. I don't have to write that. I could write more about it.
More about what you guys did together?
Yeah.
Now, what's the real thing you're trying to say in this story?
I don't know.
Well, that's the decision, because you're writing about going to your friend's house for a sleepover, right? But you have to decide, are you going to try to write about, like, it was a great time and the fun you had, or are you going to try to write about, sometimes when you're at somebody's house for a sleepover, you feel a little lonesome, miss home a little bit? You know, you have to decide.
I think I'm going to write that. I miss my parents a little.
So, like, if we were going to do a whole story and it was going to be about being at your friend's house and feeling a little bit lonesome, like, when did that lonesome thing start? Probably didn't start the minute you got there.
Yeah, no.
Right? Like here, this page isn't really about being lonesome, right?
Yeah.
Can you remember when it started?
Oh, well, we're going to go to sleep.
You were at your friend's house and it was time for bed. And then what happened?
We cried a little.
Did you? You cried a little bit?
And Romy cried a little too.
The both of you did?
Yeah.
Tell me a little more about that. How did that go? Like, how did it start?
Well, when we were like going to go to sleep and we brushed our teeth, we remembered about our families.
How did you do that? Who said what?
My mom went to Japan, so I thought about my mom, so I was a little sad, and then I told Romy that, and then she said the sad things that happened to her, and we both cried together.
Lisa, do you think you're going to make a new book?
Yeah.
And do you think it's going to be about, like, it's going to start with after you brush your teeth?
Yeah.
You go at your friend's house, Romy's house, you brush your teeth, and then you said Romy, and it's going to be about that? Okay, so you're going to zoom in on just that part?
Yeah, because I can't just say that one minute I said that I thought about my family. I was a little sad. I
don't want to just say that in a minute.
Yeah, I just don't want to say that in a minute.
In a minute, yeah. Okay, you're going to make the book be about that, because that's what it's really about, okay? And that's what writers do. They write a book and then they read it over and they think, wait, what am I really trying to write about, right? And sometimes you realize it's not even in this book what I'm really trying to write about. I got to do this other book. Okay, it's still about the sleepover, but it's a different book about the sleepover. Okay, that's good work for you to do. Off you go, Ben. Thanks so much, sweetie.
Okay, so talk with the people next to you about what was Lucy doing there. Same thing as before. What was some of the language that she used? How did she get? That was kind of tough. Did you feel that wait time? Like I felt. I was just thinking, oh my gosh, come on. So talk about that a little bit. how, if you were in that situation, would you have done it the same way? Would you have done it differently? Would you have used those words? How would you approach her? Okay, go ahead.
It was almost too different. I had a people, and then all of a that part of it is like, I would start, I would have been one that kind of
learned that this year. And she really couldn't process what it took to solve this shit, such an answer when she had it. But I just sat there, you know, it was really hard for a couple months. And then I got easier, but it was just, I was only really patient. Her wait time, and I needed to hear she
I don't know.
So it could have been
She, it was such a soul family. I had to outweigh her.
I know, I thought that too. I know. Or giving choice. Yeah. Oh, all right, if you guys finish up, what did you guys think of that? Did you share in your groups?
And not knowing what kind of teacher this child has had before.
Yeah.
If that was your own classroom and you knew that you always pursued additional information from your children, they would be more comfortable with that. My feeling with the child that you don't know, in the classroom you don't know, is that she probably thought, well, there's something wrong with this, that I have to think about something to change, because she's giving me time to think about what I need to change. But if you do that all the time in your classroom, instead of how many of us do, we pursue with more questions and more open-ended responses when we haven't gotten what we think we want from children. And in this book about, it's called Strategies for Close Reading, they talk a lot about that, about our questioning procedures, as we have really ingrained that even in our close reading, that we're asking children questions that we already have the answer for, rather than allowing them to seek their own questioning and their own wondering, which the core is really leading us to. So it depended on what kind of teacher she had as to how she was going to respond to that. But I kind of thought she was a little apprehensive and thinking, okay, I must have something I need to change about this.
I wouldn't have been able to talk at any age.
Oh, yeah, I know when they scanned the audience, you kind of went,
With grief.
yeah, yeah. I think it's important to acknowledge that when she started that conference with her, setting that foundation of, you might just really be down with it. It really might have been one of those stories that you wrote, and it was important to you, and that happens a lot when they're little. It's important to you in that moment, but it really, in the whole run, it's a passing moment. And that really emerges when you, like when we go to publish those books with those kids. For instance, this year when we started, it was around Easter. Every kid was going to write their book on Easter. And I kind of kept my mouth shut, but I said, I would say things like, what do you talk about Easter? We hunted for eggs, we ate a big lunch. Not much there, but that's one of those moments where you can really say, this story was just this little spot. When you go to publish a book, you really want it to be that story that lasts, that you want to revisit and revisit and revisit. And then I would say, go to your folder because you have those stories in your folder. And they could do it. They picked them out. They picked out the gems. Like I said, that there's the one little story about the babes. Anyways, Lily's book. And she started out with an Easter story, and she brought it to me a couple of times, trying to revise it and bring it to a level, and finally it just crumbled underneath her. And she went to her folder and she found, it was just a one little glimpse of her mom having that baby, but then she took it and made it into probably a story that her family will probably pass down the generation, honestly. It's that good. And so, all those teachable moments and identifying that. And that's one thing too, when Julie talked about going back and working on a page that they maybe did yesterday. And when they're younger, we have them put it on their green side in their folder. And, I'll have some kids, especially towards the end of the year, that they'll remember, I have a story from yesterday, I have a story on my green side, I'm gonna go work on that. And so they will, but you'll have many kids that if they're not done with it, they'll put it in, and tomorrow it's not important to them anymore. It was so important yesterday because they knew and cared about it, and they could have wrote for 2 hours on it, but today it's no longer important. I have a new story that I want to tell about today. And so that's one thing too, that if you have kids that have a bunch of things on their green side, you want to always encourage, and that's a mini lesson, you teach them how to go back and how to reread and how to add. But if there is a lot of stuff on their green side, it's okay. It doesn't make Did you find that? Oh yeah.
Have you ever caught kids trying to throw away their paper? Because they really they don't like it. And
yeah, I had one little one last year who would do that. She would be like, I made a mistake, and it was like the teeniest little thing in her illustration. And so I did a mini lesson on that. I read the story Beautiful Oops and talked about how you can take your picture or your words that you think are oops and you can make it into something beautiful. And that helped. I never had another problem with it again. But just kind of saying, how can we turn it into a beautiful oops? How can we do that?
Is that the title of the book?
Yeah. It's like that one, A Beautiful Oops. It's from the same author who did that, the push here one, where you push the, you know what I'm talking about? The
Oh, the dots.
turns,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
there's
yeah.
the same book called One,
Yeah.
and
Oh, yeah, you better go
it's
explore.
called A Beautiful Oops.
It's good.
Is it Scholastic or is it?
They, didn't they have them in Scholastic? I don't know if I saw. I know our librarian had it,
But-
so I
Okay. Barnes and Noble right now on the little table.
Another thing to keep in mind when you have a conference like this, or maybe it's a small conference with a child and it goes really well, or something really evolves out of it, like they really have an aha, that I would say the aha in this one was, really my story wasn't about the great sleepover, my story was about the sadness that I felt in sharing this with my friend. It's a great thing to teach your class as your next day's lesson, with permission from that child, of course. The things that happened here were really lovely. You saw that you'd written a story, but really you're going to go back and revisit it, and then can I take this and share it with the other children? Because they can learn and grow so much from one another, but through that avenue in which that happens. So take those really wonderful ahas and discoveries and share them with your group. And with that video, we'll take a break just a little bit, but with that video, I want to piggyback on one more video. It's Lucy again, she's meeting with a different student about the same age, and she starts it kind of the same way, asking, this is a piece that you love, and I want you to kind of watch the avenue that this boy takes, and then really, again, think about that language that she uses. So her question starts, not what are you working on as a writer, what are you planning to do with this piece? When she's visiting this finished piece.
And if you love the piece, you need to do the advice.
So what's up with you?
It's a piece. This boy
I started a new piece and I just finished it, so I don't know if there's anything to revise or not. Okay. How about if you read it to us? On January 11, 1997, the phone rang. I went to get it. My mom was on the phone. She said to tell Daddy I need to go home quick because I was having a baby sister. You were having a what? Baby sister. So I told my dad to get his coat on so we could go to the hospital. This is a true story? Yeah. Is that what happened a week ago? No, it was in 1997. Oh, okay. So we went outside
catch a cab. As soon as we caught a cab, we got in and told the guy to go to the New York hospital as fast as he could. Then we got out, paid the bill, and we went inside the hospital. We found my mom and Wax and my sister. We weren't around. And that's it. And I don't know if I should revise it or not. So I have no clue what to do. So revise is that if there anything is to revise, or should I just start a new peak like you said? If you don't think there's anything to revise on one piece to go back to another. So I don't know if I can do this, or just go back and revise like this, or any of these pieces right there, that I can revise.
Okay, well, I guess one of my questions about this is, how many years ago was that?
That was
7, 8, 9, like 4 years ago?
4 years ago, yes.
Yeah. And is it important to you right now? Is it one of the things that you really wanted to work on, or do you want to just leave it?
Well, it's one thing that I remember, and I just decided to write about it.
Yeah. And it's a big thing, right, to get a phone call saying your baby sister's coming.
Yeah.
And get in a cab and go there, right?
Yeah.
Well, I can help you revise that if you want, or we could go to a different one. That's kind of the author's decision.
Because I have can I revise this page, whenever the middle, the end, or the beginning, because there might be something better that I could do. Because every part of it, the beginning is one moment, getting a phone call is one moment, then getting our coat on is another, and catching the cab is another, getting out of the cab is another, and then going to the hospital is another. And
So you feel like it's like a lot of moments, it's not really focused?
yeah.
Okay, so if you were going to focus them, let's just imagine you're going to revise this one.